Why?
Don't know what we're talking about today.
He's a good boy. And so this is going to be difficult.
I can't relate. Greetings, pals.
Greetings, pals.
Greetings, pals.
Welcome to the podcast Throwing the Power. My name is Frank.
My name is Marcus.
My name's Tom.
This is the podcast where we talk about movies. Love it or hate it, we debate it. And today, we are debating a very controversial movie because we're all three good boys. All three of us being good boys.
Yeah, we try our darndest, but everyone keeps saying, you guys were raised right. Just act like the good boys you are.
Yeah, so today we're talking about Bad Boys 2.
What you gonna do?
What are they gonna do?
Watch Bad Boys 2. What's the... Oh,
Straight into it. Heard this song before?
yeah.
I've only heard Martin Lawrence and Will Smith sing it.
Nothing is whiter than the three of us bopping our
But we
heads
all
to this
did
right
it.
now.
We all...
Yeah,
just
I like
yeah,
this
oh,
reggae
is
beat.
Real cultural. The thing about that song that I think Google needs to account for is at one point I was like, who is this song by? I don't actually know. And I typed it into Google and it comes up with a photo of Bob Marley. It's not by Bob Marley.
No.
It's
Isn't
just
it?
Google being like, it sounds like Bob Marley.
A reggae artist.
Thanks,
Oh
AI.
my gosh.
Doing a great job.
Spotify says Inner Circle.
Yes, I believe that's
Correct.
true.
Well done, Inner Circle.
Do you
Good
know
song.
how I heard it first? Because I was raised by The Simpsons.
Oh.
There's an episode of The Simpsons where it follows like Chief Wiggum and Lou for a little while. And every time they do something stupid, it just starts playing like bad cups,
Yeah.
bad cups, bad cups. And that was the first time I heard that song. And then, yeah, I heard this version instead.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd heard the real song until I heard Will Smith sing it.
Yeah.
And that was great.
Yeah.
What a singer. What
Tell
an
us
artist.
more about your childhood, Tom.
Okay, so...
My childhood.
No, don't.
No, thanks.
Started laying down on the couch instinctively.
I'll do a quick little Bad Boys 2. 2003, it was released, directed by Mr. Michael Bay.
Mr.
Should we
Michael.
say
Don't
Sir?
miss the Mr..
Sir Michael Bay, almost.
Yeah.
He's been knighted,
What do
hasn't
you
he?
mean almost?
I think he's been daily, nightly, ever so
Fallen
rightly.
Fallen Knights. What's that Transformers one?
We all have to pick one bit, guys. We can't just
Yeah.
do this like one.
What are you insinuating?
I think Michael Bay deserves a bit of respect on his name. I don't know. There's something.
I think that's debatable.
This is a conversation. Hey, let's get into the film first.
All right. Do you want a synopsis?
Do you want to know why it's out of 11? You keep fucking doing this, Frank. And you do it on the ones where it's not a good one. So
I
you
don't wanna-
force me to...
Okay, well,
structure.
I'm just saying.
on our podcast, we rate films out of 11.
We do.
Thomas is the reason why.
Yeah. Oh, the reason why for this film? In the scene where the kid comes to pick up Martin Lawrence's daughter for a date, Will Smith says the N-word 11 times.
That's pretty accurate.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, wait.
Can we-
wait. Can we
we've got
run,
a-
let's
we've got
run
a
the
clip?
scene,
We've got a
Frank.
clip.
Frank, can we run the scene?
Absolutely not.
We're going to see how many...
Frank, act it out. Go.
I'm not even going to play along with that bit.
I
at
don't
all.
actually know if he says it 11 times. I just want to make
He
Frank
says it
swear.
a lot.
it
The
does.
racial, the racism. Let's just say the racism in this film is extreme.
Well, it's interesting because it's a movie like that, especially in a very 2000s mentality. And we should obviously get into the movie first, but it is interesting putting two black stars at the center of it at a time where that was still a pretty unusual thing to just be like, you know, outside of blaxploitation movies or, you know, and Shaft and all that, that it's just like these guys are going to be your leads and they're going to say racist stuff about like, you know, their Latino or their like sort of Floridian Spanish-speaking side colleagues, like the two guys. But they're also going to say racial stuff about black people, but white people. But it's okay because it's two black guys. And it's like America was like, you're allowed to laugh at this. It's okay.
Yeah, it's like the anti-racism. It's like, look, this makes up for it.
Yes. And then
No, it
deeply
doesn't.
misogynistic stuff as well. And you're just like, so it's everyone in this movie.
But the concerning thing is, it's directed by Michael Bay. It's written by white men. The whole thing is like, imagine the writer's room being like, yeah, then they say this, right? This is cool.
Yeah.
This is fine, right?
And it was coming out at the same time The Wire was happening, which is another TV show written almost exclusively by white people, but it is about like black inner city Baltimore. And it's like, that's a show that was like, let's try to deal with the fact that these are people who are not really shown on television, don't get a lot of representation. And Michael Bay's like, black guys, am I right? Like that's really his take with this movie.
Guys, before we get too carried away
Apologies.
let's talk about our ratings.
Oh, yeah, we should get them. So
Structure.
out of 11.
Yeah.
Structure,
Out of
guys.
11.
My word.
Someone's been watching The Brutalist.
All right,
Form
all
follows
right.
function.
Form does follow function. Architecture. So...
Frank, I have a feeling this might be your film.
Shout your name if you like. I brought this film in. I
did.
suggested it to the room. Shout your name if you like this movie.
Tom, Get fucked. Don't make
Wow.
me do this. Don't make me do this. This is like the Batman episode all over again.
Yes.
Where I'm like, I don't even like it that much.
It's all right. So Marcus
is
and I are
funny.
dyslexic. Let's get
Yeah.
some numbers. Marcus, yourself.
4.8.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I'm a 5.
You guys fucking suck.
What are you, Tom?
6.6?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't love it,
Just-
but it's a,
Yes.
it's a good
But
time
you do.
for the most part. Well, not even the most part.
It's not a yeah. Here's the thing, and I,
You're gonna
it's a
fight for it, Tom.
conflicted. It's a conflicted little piece of art, we could say. There is such a juvenile, silly quality to this that if you're into that, it can be a fun time. You can be like, yeah, these explosions are ridiculous. The dialogue is moronical. The plot line is pretty simple.
but also needlessly complicated. Like it's both those things where it's like you could explain it in a sentence,
Yeah.
but if someone asked one question, you'd be like, okay, so let's get into like
They've been partners for a long time, and that's his sister. But they were also dating. But she's undercover. But is she actually undercover? Maybe she's a bad
and
girl.
they don't talk about it in the ways they should. And also, the ecstasy dealer owns a funeral home, and Peter Stormare's there for undefined reasons. Like
We'll get to that.
We'll get
And
to
the
it.
accents are very broad. It's fine.
So on what you were saying, Frank, I watched this film a lot growing up in my teen years.
On
and then,
average?
let's say early 20s.
Yeah.
Like a lot. Like I'd probably throw
On average, a lot.
any of the
Okay.
Bad Boys films on maybe 2 times a year, maybe 3 times a year.
Wow.
Like I love them.
Wow.
Just cheap action, right?
Yeah.
And when
Michael
you're
Bay
growing
classic.
up, it's that maturity that you were just talking on before.
It lines up with teenage boys.
It does.
100%.
Because my watch of this very recently for this pod was very different. And I didn't feel very good about this film for the first time ever. And I
Yeah.
don't know what has changed in terms of my lens. I guess it is just aging and the maturity of it. But
Wicked reference. Keep going.
great.
Yeah,
cool.
real wicked reference.
That's all we were
Sick,
calling
bro.
for. That's
I'm cool.
just threw up shockers for Wicked. First time that's ever happened.
I do sharkus for anything that I love.
they're a wild bunch of fans. Those
Yeah,
Wicked
they
fans.
are.
Can you do a W?
That's the shocker that you're doing.
No,
Bad boys.
But this film is just a bit stupid and juvenile, as you said. And I have realised after doing a bit of deep diving that Michael Bay is just not my director. I don't rate him. I thought he'd done more than he actually has. And I'd probably go as far to say as Transformers 1 is his best work.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, I've watched that movie. I haven't watched it in like 10 years, but I watched it a lot. It's one of the ones that I had on my hard drive, when you download things.
Yeah.
And I would just watch it, just put it on. But I just love that movie. I love Shia LaBeouf in that.
Yeah.
There's something about it that's so... Because it's based on a toy, right?
Yeah.
So it's allowed to be juvenile.
It brought it to life and it gave it real life, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not here to talk about Transformers, but I think there was some real... The Michael Bayisms in that film work really well. In this, I just couldn't get behind it this time.
There's so many... He loves a 360 pan in
hate it.
slow-mo.
I used to love it. I
Because
hate
it feels like such a dramatic moment in a film that is not meant to be taken seriously, I
Shit
guess.
just got real.
Yeah, and you're like, dude, no, it didn't. No, it did. It got
It's like-
faker than ever.
I'm sorry, was it not real when you're turfing bodies out on the street as you're driving through banks and shit? Like, it's only real because your sister's been kidnapped and she's generally fine at this point.
A lot of the cool lines in this movie make no sense.
Make sure air quotes
Air
cool.
quotes make no sense if you think about them for more than a second. The biggest one for me that I remembered, by the way, I should say, I remember saying to you the other day, Marcus, that I didn't think I'd seen this movie. And 30 seconds in, I was like, oh, I've totally seen this movie before. I'd basically forgotten it, but I'd seen it. And the line I remembered even as a kid registering for me, that I was like, why did he say that? Is during the car chase at the start. And Will Smith sees a huge pile-up happen. And he goes, I think I done just got mad. And I'm like, why? Why did you just get mad? I don't understand. You saw a couple cars crash, and that made you inflamed with rage. It's a line that you're like, that's a trailer line. It's funny and it punctuates the scene for no reason.
For no reason. A lot of it feels like they were doing action sequences and Michael Bay was like, just say, here's 5 cool lines to say, and then just splice them in. So here's the action sequence, car chase, cool line from Will Smith, action sequence,
Yeah.
silly
Oh, did you
line
see
from
that?
Martin Lawrence goes, I'm exasperated.
Yeah.
And then it keeps going to the action scene. It's just like cut in whenever they want a line. It's not like an actual thought out script.
Yeah.
I think that's true.
Do you know what is fantastic though?
Sure.
Is the action.
Most of it, yes.
The
I'd agree.
cadavers falling out of the hearse and then getting run over by their car and their heads falling off. It's so disgusting.
Can I say that the cadavers look so real?
So
right?
gross.
And there's one, it's such a quick shot, but where he does run over one of the bodies for the first time and the head literally rolls off.
Spins.
It doesn't look like a mannequin or a dummy. It actually looks like a real head.
It's so rank.
I can't believe you guys are going to make me the one defending this fucking
Hold on.
Yeah.
No, I just want to talk about, I'm talking about the things that I like about it. That's one of the things I like about it. The other exceptional piece of action is right at the end, right? Where the climax on the border, Martin Lawrence finally learns to shoot his gun and does the headshot of the bad guy. Spoiler alert, he dies. And he falls slow motion into the sand. The sand flies up and they're in a minefield. And then it just erupts. The body just explodes everywhere. And it's the most ludicrous piece of action you've ever seen. It's like he's already dead, man. You don't need to blow him up with mines. But Michael Bay's like, what can we do to make this the most extravagant, ridiculous piece of action you've ever seen? And that's why he deserves some respect.
And then fucker on the minefield. And like roll credits.
Literally,
That's
it's
it.
like, why is there a kiss to end? And it's such a Will Smith should be in the worst kissing. That was bad.
He should be in the worst kissing.
Have you seen that worst kissing movie? He should be in that. No, I mean he's a bad kisser. He's a bad kisser.
That's not in my collection.
Coming
no.
this fall. Worst kissing.
Not coming.
This film makes The Expendables look like an Oscar-worthy sort of film, if you know what I mean. Like,
Never seen The Expendables.
or even Predator 1.
pretty
Like,
expendable.
there's campy action films out there that really lean into their campy action. I think the problem with this film is it takes itself far too seriously whilst being a campy action film.
It tries to do both.
It tries
It's
to
trying
do both.
to do both.
Yeah.
Like
At
the
one
shit
point-
just got real. You're like,
Yeah.
no, you can't have it both ways. I'm sorry, Michael.
That's it. We've just had you getting shot in the ass, and we've got like multiple scenes of you talking about being shot in the ass.
And then he has nerve damage, so he can't get an erection.
Yeah.
like the silliest. Oh well, it's just the nerve damage, and it's like,
And then when they're talking about it in the video store or the
Yeah.
camera digital store,
Yeah.
and people think they're talking about fucking each other.
Yeah.
I laughed. I thought it was funny. I think
this
truly
is why
it's
you love this film, right?
basically that one scene.
gay jokes.
I
That's good.
agree with you guys that when this film in the final act decides it's going to be a hardened like action film with real stakes,
Yeah.
I'm like, this is not what this film has been, and it doesn't need to be this.
Yeah.
I think the first hour of this film is kind of perfect. Like, actually, a definitively funny and action-packed adrenaline ride of an action movie.
I do want to talk about the opening action sequence.
You
You want to talk to
at
that?
the Klan
At the
rally?
Klan rally?
Look,
That-
I would say everything that happens that's action or even oriented around stupid but very dramatically enhanced
Mm-hmm.
photography. This movie looks amazing. This looks incredible. I was so blown away by how crisp and how self-assured the composition of this film was. I was
Yeah.
like, fuck, do I love Michael Bay? This is crazy.
He does some stuff, and you go, this is like early days of him as one of his earlier films. He's got a style. He's absolutely got. This is what he does. This is how he does it. The lower Dutch angles coming up at people coming out of cars usually. Obviously the 360 spin, the slow mo. This move for the listener. I'm waving my arms out of. I am hiding guns under here.
Oh, pulling them out.
Pulling them out and doing
Don't
that
worry.
in slow
We're,
motion.
we're in the
Rope
room,
comes
and
off.
that took me a second to work out what you were doing.
I'm wearing a straight
It
jacket.
looked like you were doing woo-saw sort of breathing exercise.
See, the woosah joke doesn't land for me. The whole time I'm like, okay.
No, it's always, and
But
it's from Anger Management as well. Like that was
Yeah.
the Jack Nicholson and Adam Sandler, right? I remember watching that movie first, and they do Wusa in that, and then it comes into this. It's
Yeah.
so weird. Everyone had a moment there where Wusa was just this. Oh yeah, we all know that's just sort of like
must have been like
an
everyone-
incantation against anxiety. Or
Everyone in Hollywood had started therapy,
Yeah.
and they're like, well, this is what we do.
It's specific to LA, I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have a green juice,
You're,
have some woosah.
you're almost like, is
yeah.
that a Scientology thing like this? But no, it turns out it is based in some. There is some actual like language or culture it's drawing from, but I don't know what it is.
Probably.
We'll put it on our socials.
Hey, back
Well,
on
we
back on
won't.
the first scene. I don't like the first scene.
As in, you don't like seeing clan members on screen?
It's problematic. No. Like, if you're going to do clan members, fine. But again, in terms of tone, what we're talking about here, it's what's the joke here, or what's your message here? Because you've got two black guys dressed up as clan members, unveiling themselves alone, right? The whole bit doesn't work for me. It's so stupid to a point. It's like, what was the plan in the first place? You've got the actual military all like submerged in the water with their guns and everything from a distance, ready to rock on a signal. It's like, even if the signal portion of this plan did work as it was meant to, what the fuck are you doing?
So you two guys go in there, arguably the most targeted group of people to that direct rally, pull your guns out, hope no one gets the drop on you, and we'll show up eventually.
And of course, Martin Lawrence gets taken hostage like immediately because of course he does. And then what? And Will Smith's still cool, calm, collected. It's like, no, the plan's still working. It's like, no, bro.
It's so funny.
Yeah, if that's part of the plan, it's a bad plan, respectfully.
You and I saying the same thing, I love it. Everything you're saying is making me go.
I have a question because Tom, do you love it because it's like, look how brash and bold our two leads are? Is that?
I think they carry it definitely, and I think they're dynamic. I don't want to talk too much about Bad Boys 1, and I won't get too into it right now. But as an improvement over Bad Boys 1, which I hadn't seen, I really did watch Bad Boys 1 like a day before this, and Bad Boys 1 fucking sucks.
But Tia
Leone has some funny moments in it. She like manages to struggle against like the Michael Bay sort of ogling of it all and go like, I'm actually going to have a bit of a character, like maybe a tenth of a character in this. Gabrielle Union doesn't work for her in this at all. Gabrielle Union, unfortunately, because I think she's lovely.
She tried her best.
Doesn't work at all. But yeah, I think that the way...
I think the redeeming moment of the opening sequences, as you've already touched on, is that the shot and the compositions of it, of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Even the slow motion bullet through the jar and into his ass, like... Not a sentence I would have put on my bingo card for today, but
sure.
But also the slow-mo shot of Will Smith in front of the flaming cross.
Yeah, some of it's very nice.
Imagery is incredible, and it's funnier back and forth and more, I think, like tight dialogue than the first one, where it was very clear. I looked up the first one afterwards. It's like, it turns out Martin Lawrence and Will Smith improvised a lot of the script. I'm like, you don't fucking say.
Yeah.
Like, so much of the first movie is
no need to
Michael
get
Bay
mad.
just letting it run and going, we'll do something with this.
I think this is the problem a lot of the time with Will Smith in general. Now, I'm saying this as an opinion piece only, but I think that Will Smith on set, I believe, would be difficult to work with because he would want as much freedom as he can get. So, yeah, there's a script, but of course he's going to want one-liners and he's going to want more one-liners and he's going to want to ad-lib more one-liners and he's just going to want to have his woos and his yeahs and his now I'm mads. And
He does a lot of woos.
like it's the most Will Smith isms all through the film, and it's so oversaturated with those. And Martin Lawrence is just the butt of the joke half the time, if not 3/4 of the time.
Yeah.
I don't find Martin Lawrence to be all that funny. He's just a device for Will Smith for most of it.
It's such a strange dynamic for the two of them because they're both massive stars, especially in 2003. Like probably, I would say almost equal. Like Martin Lawrence is the comedy guy. Will Smith is, what would he be at that point?
Look, I want to get into the Butler's Pantry at some point about Will Smith because
Just do
it's an
it now.
interesting
Just
thing.
do it
Do we
now.
want to do it now?
Well, okay.
It's
Well,
early,
let me
but we
just
can
get
get
in
into
there.
In a pantry with a mic. Woo! The Butler's Pantry.
Was that meant to be Will Smith? That was so half-assed.
Yeah.
That was just whoop.
I was going to slap one of you really hard instead, but I decided that might be in bad taste.
What's that referencing?
Yeah. Will Smith, Bad Boys 1 is like his second movie or third movie, right? So Will Smith is known to the world in the mid-90s as the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, you know, and also the music that comes adjacent to that. So he's known as the friendly, approachable black guy. There's a little bit of OJ there in the fact, you know, OJ does the, I'm not black, I'm OJ, right? I'm an acceptable version.
The white people will like me.
Yes,
I wasn't
sure
playing
where
to
you were
that.
going
I played to
with
that
that.
crowd.
The idea, yeah, and then also like...
There's also the violence.
Yeah.
Jesus. But yeah, the idea that like I can be approachable, you know, which was a very, very difficult sort of needle to thread back in the 80s and 90s for any successful black Americans, right? And then 95, one of his big introductions to film is pretty nasty. I mean, Bad Boys is him being... maybe nasty isn't the right word for that movie, but certainly like a little bit more forward, a little bit more boisterous and rambunctious. And then he starts doing things like, I mean, where is he between the 90s and the 2000s? He does
Hey,
Ali
man,
at
it's
some
your
point.
pantry.
He does Men in Black. He
Independence
does
Day, Men in Black.
Men in Black. So he's a little bit more approachable.
Getting jiggy with it.
He does Men in Black, I think, is the definitive, like, oh, this guy's an action star.
Yep.
And he's got like what white Americans would see as like an exotic or a sort of like, you know, a black twist.
There's
on.
a real earnestness to him in Men in Black, though, as opposed to what he's doing here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like he's still held up as Tommy Lee Jones, the straight-laced white bureaucratic guy, and Will Smith, he's more street, you know? Like they still
Yeah,
treat it
we
that
need
way.
like an urban character,
Exactly.
they would have said.
But they still
Tommy's
go.
pretty street.
So,
Continue.
Nice shirt.
I run these streets. But yeah, Will Smith
run away.
was a much more sort of like was a much more approachable version of this sort of star. And then he continues doing stuff like Shark Tale, like The Pursuit of Happiness later on.
Yeah.
You know, even when he's doing things like I, Robot and I Am Legend, which are a little bit more confronting or just like have more edge to them, he's still like the friendly guy with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah.
What's funny to me is that people saw what Will Smith did at the Oscars, can't not talk about this, and they go, what the fuck, where did that come from? And I'm like,
Yeah.
so you haven't seen Bad Boys. Because that's him in Bad Boys. In Bad Boys 1 and Bad Boys 2, he will hold a gun to your head and threaten to kill you to get information.
Yeah.
He will tell his partner, if a crackhead puts a gun to the back of my head, you need to pop that guy because otherwise I'm going home in a body bag. I am a dirty police officer who will commit police brutality to get the job done. And I will mostly fuck up until the last act.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm just like, yeah, that's him like letting loose in
It's
this
like
film.
the character is he trusts his instinct and his ego until he's finally proven right. But like bad cop,
Yes.
bad boy.
Terrible cop. Really guy who it's more fun to watch this movie when you recognize his fallibility and his vulnerability as opposed to just playing by the movie's rules and going when he walks into the lobby and he's like putting that
suit
velvet
jacket on.
and it's just like, isn't this the coolest guy you've ever seen? And I'm like, the insecurity of this man is towering. But it's great. It's a good little conflicting
My question
thing.
is, did Michael Bay choose that shot or did Will Smith choose that shot?
I mean, it's
if
a
you haven't
much
seen
of
it, it's a slow-mo shot of Will
We'll
Smith
never
putting
know.
a beautiful purple suit jacket on. And Martin Lawrence says, what, you're supposed to be a model as well? Like,
Yeah, you a cop or a
even that,
model or
even the
something?
scene plays into how good looking is Will Smith.
Hey, yo, we should have this scene where they say that I'm a model.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Will.
We got
this fucking guy.
We've got a scene here where you need to be in therapy, and then I fucked the therapist. Like,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
yeah.
Everything he does is like this is what you hear now. The stories after the slap is people coming out and saying, "Yeah, it's all curated. Everything he's done is curated." Yeah. Even he said in the early days he chose to do Independence Day. He chose to do Men in Black because he's like, well, sci-fi and aliens make a lot of money, and I'll be really famous. Everything he did was just for the goal.
Absolutely.
It's not. He's never been his real self.
No. But it's an interesting way to view his persona as kind of consistently being the nice action star or the nice guy
Yep.
in a lot of these films. Sometimes the hard done by guy, especially in Pursuit of Happiness. 7 Pounds has that vibe.
But he's,
as well,
he's
though I
also
haven't seen
he's
that
always
movie.
he's always a good person. He's always like smarter than everyone. He's
Yeah.
always a step ahead.
But this is the one time where it's like him being like, this is closer to the real. Even if this isn't what he was going for, the vibe I get is he's like, this is what I'm actually like. Like I'm a bit looser, I'm a bit sexier, I'm a bit edgier, and you're like, you're a bit of a dick. Actually,
You
that's
see-
who
yeah.
Mike Lowry is. He's a fucking dick, but he's kind of
That's his character's name.
He's compelling. Yeah, Mike Lowry.
In
is the
saying this, though, you sort of touched on it as well. His vulnerability as a person is where we start to see his best work. I think when he starts to let loose in 7 Pounds, in Pursuit of Happiness.
I think he's good in this.
I think. Oh no, of course,
he's
of course.
fine,
But
he's
I,
good,
I
he's-
believe that letting that vulnerability come through naturally.
Yeah.
Is where we start to see, like, that's where he was on his Oscars hunt, right? Like, he really wanted that Oscar.
Yeah.
And it's very obviously what was happening, but I think that he was a real contender because he was showing that natural ability that he has, whereas he wasn't masking it with this, like, bad boys
Bravado.
persona. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which he's also very good at still. But I think what you're saying is we're kind of seeing through it as more of a thing, as a device. You know?
If you look back, like the hindsight of it, and you look
mask.
back at his career and you go, wow, it's all like the Oscar hunt is so obvious when you look back.
Yeah.
We used to think, oh wow, he's doing such interesting choices. Like, what a bold choice to do. To play Muhammad Ali, to play this guy who's homeless
Yeah.
and down on his luck, and has massive crying scenes. Oh, he's such a good actor.
I think the middle ground of that is I Am Legend. I think that you get.
Mentions like the genre meets the raw vulnerability.
I think so.
stuff.
Yeah, I think
which-
that's where he starts to really test the waters and be like, "There's a side to me that I haven't shown you yet, but I'm still an action star at
Which
the end of the day."
still feels that movie. I think's okay. That's a performance I find a little bit sort of histrionic. I think what I like about this, and you're right, Marcus, that like some of that vulnerability that comes out in those more dramatic roles is interesting, but it does feel like he's doing it intentionally to go look at this side of me. And here he's trying to hide a certain side to himself, and I find that fascinating.
He's like an
He's
ogre.
put-
He's got layers.
He's got layers, which is funny because in I Am Legend, he does the whole fucking like that scene goes on way too long in I Am Legend, where
Does
he's
the whole
quoting Shrek. It's like 5 minute scene of him just doing the script of Shrek, and then he just goes, "I like Shrek," and you're like, "No shit, man."
I forgot that happened. That's
It's
a good
crazy. He's got a brashness here, and he's very braggadocious, and I like watching it sort of slip a little. And it's like, but also he is very self-assured. The thing that's so much better about this movie than Bad Boys 1 as well is they look like they're playing dress up in Bad Boys 1. I mean, Bad Boys 1, they seem like they're so young. They're younger than they're like in their like mid-late 20s in Bad
Yeah.
Boys 1.
Yeah.
They look like, and it's like detectives. They're not fucking detectives. Like these guys
They're
are
beat
not
cops. And they're like, hey.
Yeah, and then in this, it's like they're not embryonic anymore. They've come to like.
And also, Will Smith has obviously put on a bit of size.
Yes.
Because he's like, I'm an action guy now. Look at my arms.
Martin Lawrence has a bit more to him, where it's like this looks like a Family Guy who's a little past it. Where
Yeah.
he was already playing that a little bit in the first one, and it's like, dude, you're like 26. Like you got some miles to go. In this, I get it, where he's got the shitty pool and the. Although I like the pool. I think the pool's nice.
Let me tell you about
Yeah.
my least favorite scene in the whole film.
Let's go.
I
This-
can
this is-
imagine it's the titties,
the dead.
Oh,
the dead.
yeah, the morgue's
That's
problematic.
the morgue,
The mortuary.
Is
It's
fucking awful.
yeah, it's not good. The whole titties thing is so unnecessary.
And
that
it's just the cheapest joke.
the logistics of the whole thing is dumb as well.
The
It's like,
guys
what are
come
they
in,
doing?
the morgue attendants come in and call her the bimbo, and it's like, I get it, Michael Bay. You got dumped. Like, I'm so sorry
Yeah.
that happened,
Yeah.
bro, but she's not going to call. Like,
You literally have a full SEAL Team 6 out front of this mortuary, like in full camouflage and like high vis, like not high vis, like
Low
like
vis.
the low vis. They've got like they literally have military
Tactical
equipment.
gear ready to go,
it's
goggles
insane.
and everything.
And purely for them to create a 1 minute distraction for these guys to get in, and that's it. That's the plan. Then they're just Overwatch. You literally could have had anyone out front, just one dude that you've paid just to distract them. Anyway, it's stupid.
none of the tactics make sense.
No,
in this movie.
it's silly. It's just, it's real. It's that bro mentality of just like we're cool, we got guns, we got gear.
Yeah, let's just go in. We'll just get it done.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like,
and
think about it.
this leads into my least favorite scene, which is post shit just got real. It's when they're in the police station and the smoke machine is working overtime. By the way, the whole police station is full of smoke, and
I know the scene you're about to say.
and it's Martin Lawrence in the boardroom, leaning on the table, like just like what are we doing here?
He cracks a tear. He cracks a tear.
Gets his crying scene.
Where's
And
his
then
Oscar?
In the background, you've got all of the bros, all of your SEAL team bros, like leaning up against the glass, looking into the boardroom, and like their biceps are bulging.
They look huge.
huge.
Absolutely swell.
And they're like waiting to hear what's going to happen. Like all of a sudden, everyone in the station stopped doing what they're doing for the day just to know.
Just to
what
watch
these
Martin
two-
Lawrence be upset. Like they're not waiting for a decision from him. They're
No.
just watching him because they said no, right? They said we don't
And
negotiate with terrorists. So
Joe-
Martin Lawrence gets mad.
Joey
100%.
Pants.
Joey Pants. Yeah. What's his full
The captain,
surname?
Pantaleano.
I can never say it right.
Neither do I. That's why it's Joey Pants.
I
It's
love
easier.
him. I love him,
I
but he's
love Joey
just
Pants.
like
the captain we're talking about, the diminutive.
Pantaleano, I'd imagine.
Pantaleano.
That's all right.
Yeah.
he's cliched like white captain, chew your ass out.
What
for-
did I say?
Yeah.
What did I say?
I still love him
Just
regardless.
great.
You trying to make my job hard? I gotta come here and get the
But this whole
forensics
scene
team.
when Bearded Bro and all the other bros come up and like they're like, well, we're doing this shit like off the books, basically. Is the whole thing. That slow motion walk out of the station and when they're all grouping up and it's like, we got you, bro.
I love it when they come in. They go, "We're all ex-SEAL sixes. We don't give a shit. we're with you to the end." Or something. You're like, what?
Yeah.
Why?
Why?
We got this guy.
What do
He's
you care
a
about?
spy.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Oh,
I'm
man.
ex-CIA. Hey, he's a spy. and I'm with you to the end. Like they just keep saying
I can't.
dumb shit.
I died
And
of secondhand
Mike-
embarrassment.
And it's literally the Lord of the Rings scene. But then they get into the chopper, right? And Martin Lawrence goes, hey, Mike, I just want to say, he's talking to Will Smith, I just want to say, and Will Smith goes, tell it to me after.
Yeah.
And you're like, let him say it.
Yeah.
What's the line?
Tell me when we get back.
They couldn't think of a good line.
and it's just he's got full camo on.
It's
and
because the cliche lines in the first hour work because they're tongue in cheek, they're self aware, it's a bit silly.
Yeah.
Now they're trying to be sincere about it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make sense.
It's like Michael Bay's worried that people are going to walk out unsatisfied if he doesn't give them the roided up, the cliched, like final confrontational battle scene where they get their bad guy and they do it because it's personal now. Shit just got real.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. The last 30 minutes of this movie are unnecessary or could be truncated because what happens is they go to storm Johnny Tapia's mansion.
Yeah.
in Cuba.
And then like the first time.
Oh, the first
when they're
time,
still
yes.
in Miami. And then he leaves and goes to Cuba, and then they go and storm his mansion in Cuba. And I'm like, why the fuck are there two mansions?
Two
Like,
mansions,
just
yeah.
do the first one.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
don't have this scene where they go to the police, the FBI, and the FBI say, we can't help you. And the next 5 minutes is everyone going, we can help you. It's fine.
Also-
Like, ignore that motherfucker. Like,
Yeah.
And then they just, like, jack up and go. Like,
And again,
it's-
their plan is to throw iguanas over the fence to set off the alarms, which is like, let's hope those iguanas go over that.
Well, let's hope the
That boundary
iguanas
line.
set off the sensor,
Yeah.
and then hope that he says, "Well, let's turn off the sensors. I'm sick of the iguanas
Yeah.
setting off the sensors." It's like,
and then that doesn't matter anyway because they've dug a tunnel,
where did they get the tunnel from?
which
They
could have
dug-
taken weeks,
Literally, it's enormous. It fits those roided up
Yeah.
boys in there.
which bypasses the sensors.
Yeah.
And at one point, some bloke throws cats over the fence. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Instead of iguanas, there's two cats going over, and I'm like, so what are the cats doing?
they ran out of
and,
equipment.
what
then,
about-
and then the daughter picks up these two cats. It's like, Daddy, I found two cats. It's like, oh, they're gifting the cats.
Yeah. It's
That's
to
the
distract,
plan.
distract the daughter.
Distract the daughter.
And then you've got the little remote control car that comes in, and all the SEAL team from the bad guys
Just
team.
to kill like 5 dudes.
And he's like, sorry.
Are you guys saying that doesn't look amazing though?
Looks-
when it blows
looks-
up and they all fly 20 feet into the air.
It's the biggest explosion you've ever seen.
It's so funny watching shit like that happen. And that's what gets me in this movie, that whenever I'm like, I'm a little, just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. Like a scene like that works on me. You know, the mother turning around and having the biggest shotgun you've ever seen. Just like, my boy's gonna kill you. No, that's not how it
Sorry,
sounds.
Nana.
That-
Smack.
Yeah, it gets knocked the F out.
Yeah.
It's
know
hilarious.
Maybe
what I
just
was
take the gun off her, man. You
Yeah.
don't have to break her jaw.
She's dangerous, though.
She's so funny though. The scene where Johnny Tapia kills Eduardo or Edgar, I can't remember.
He's number 2, essentially.
His number 2, and it's like his cousin. And she looks out the window and she's like, what happened? He's like, oh, Mummy, he killed himself. And she's like, oh,
So sad.
send a letter to his
Send
mother.
a letter.
Like, and that's it. He's covered in blood holding a gun. And he's like, he killed himself. What do you want?
Yeah.
That's the shit that I find hilarious in this
That's the
movie.
thing, yeah.
It's like the script writers just went, does anyone actually care about the functionality of this or the logic?
Yeah,
and
no.
the more they abandon that, but they are silly about it, I love it. The more they try to be like, but this is real shit. This is like
That's it.
legit hardened machismo. I don't give a fuck.
I've said this a million times, but pick a lane. Like that's all this is.
Yeah,
It's
see,
a
this,
real
and
problem.
this is what I think Transformers does better is it's pick the lane. It knows it's silly.
I should say I've never seen. I think I've absorbed a little bit
It
of
looks
Transformers.
exactly the same.
I mean, I'd probably like it
exact
then.
same shots,
This movie
exact same
looks-
color grade. It looks great.
Yeah.
And it's all these slow-mo shots. And the original transforming was like really intricate. The special effects are fantastic. So you see like Optimus Prime become Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
And you go, "Ooh," like
Yeah.
the gears are all changing. And
Shia
then-
LaBeouf sees him transform for the first time. And he's like, shit just got real. It's uncanny.
Yeah.
Shia, I have to tell you. Tell me after.
Why they had a clan meeting.
Shia goes and takes a shit.
Now I'm mad.
Yeah, Megan Fox coming out from under the hood, right? That's the shot that everyone
One of the
always
greatest
talks
shots in cinema.
People always talk about that, but
Just kidding.
I mean, like, yeah, it's kind of emblematic of Michael Bay filming something like it's life or death.
Yeah.
And it's
It's the highest
tits and
stakes
ass.
possible.
Like, that's his
Yeah.
thing.
And to him,
right?
that is life and death.
Yeah, that's true.
Also, Megan Fox is in Bad Boys too.
Go on.
She's in the club. She's the girl. You don't actually see her face, but she's
is a
the
bit.
waterfall. No, it's not a bit. This is legit. She's 15. She's in Bad Boys too. She's in a bikini.
Oh,
It's-
yeah.
it's
I mean,
really-
that's
and you go,
just
Wait, actually?
the most
Yeah.
predictable thing you could have said, unfortunately.
Oh,
It's
no.
It's gross. That's how they met.
Oh no.
I know. But they were like, well, she's 15, so she can't stand at the
Oh,
bar.
he
And
Luke
he's like,
Besson him. Sorry.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't get married.
Well,
No, she
maybe-
called him Hitler.
He
so
wouldn't
I
have
think that
said
got him
no.
away.
He wouldn't have said no.
He wouldn't have said no. I think she's a bit smarter than
Megan
that.
Yeah, good,
Fox
thank
is,
God.
not to get too into this, but she's very much
I think we're still in the pantry.
part of that. We are somehow. Still, you guys want some chia seeds?
Big in here.
Chia seeds.
That's all I got. Megan Fox is
At least
part of that
some
era in
news,
the 2000s where we were like, people were just like, jailbait, funny, right? And so she's in 2.5 Men in an episode where she's
Yeah.
in a bikini, and I think she's like 16 or 17, and the joke is like, how's Charlie Sheen not gonna fuck her, right? And it's like, why is this on network television? This is crazy.
Why did you
that this
say it
exists.
like that?
That's what John Cryer.
Yeah, so John Cryer.
Charlie, why are you fucking her?
Oh, Charlie, get off the teenager.
Oh God.
It's
Can
bad.
I watch?
Why does he have a stutter?
Sorry.
Anyway. Yeah, so Megan Fox is in this, and it's problematic.
Sure. Look,
Yeah,
I want
wow.
to. I want to talk about, because we've talked about how problematic and genuinely awful this movie is.
Yeah.
because it is. It's a mean-spirited, nasty-toned, aggressively unpleasant film.
Give me a favourite bit.
The first hour of it, the first
Okay.
hour when the opening shot is the manufacturing of ecstasy, I'm in. Like the way it just looks like this close-up of pistons and the whole assembly line of it,
Yeah.
and everything just cut. And Michael Bay being like, the shit I'm doing is kind of basic. I'm going to elevate it so hard, you are going to be more invested than you can believe. And by the time they're in that, the bullet passes through Martin Lawrence's ass. Marcus is the character's name. And it's just like the slow-mo of the bullet going, oh, Marcus. It's the slow-mo of the bullet passing through the glass jar or whatever, and then it hits Martin Lawrence, and then his face going, oh! I'm just like, this is the dumbest shit, and I'm having so much fun.
Yeah. That's the thing.
Michael Shannon playing, I'm seeing here, a swamp. Like, that's just his character in it.
Let's
Let's save that conversation.
Racist swamp.
Let's
Racist
save that
swamp.
conversation for a second.
So a swamp. But
I've
Can
seen
we?
many
Is it too
swamps.
early to do MVP?
I wanted to talk briefly just about the
Apparently,
rest of
it's
the
too
first
early.
hour.
We'll let
It's too
Tom,
early,
We'll
yeah.
let Tom speak for
Sorry.
another 5 minutes.
I got to
Go back in the pantry. Keep going.
Sorry. That first scene is great. Then you've got Will Smith and Martin Lawrence in the helicopter. And Michael Bay's like, I'm going to show you flashbacks to their therapy sessions. And I'm like, great, love it, excellent. Then you're going to introduce like Martin Lawrence's family, and he's going to end up getting washed away by a pool into the water. And then you're going to have them follow Ice Pick, which is Will Smith's CI, his criminal informant, to the meet where Gabrielle Union's there, and she's, what's her name in this? Sid. Sid is there meeting Peter Stormare. So
Yeah.
immediately I'm like, I'm in. Absolutely. And he's talking about how I love ballet. You like I also like hip hop. Like, great, love this. And then it's a perfectly orchestrated setup where you've got the DEA, you've got the Haitians, and you've got Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. And it leads to one of the most exciting chase sequences in a fucking movie. And when they're going down the highway
Big call.
and they're releasing the cars to like throw them as weapons at Martin Lawrence and Will Smith, and a boat gets involved, I'm just like, I love this shit. I love this shit. I think it's one of the most fantastic openings to a film.
I will say, much like its predecessors, this film does one thing that they don't, whereas they actually talk about the body count after the fact.
Except it makes no sense.
No, it makes no sense. But at least they make a sort of a joke of acknowledging it's like, okay, so X amount of cars, a boat,
Yeah.
and X amount of officers dead. Like,
No,
thank you so much.
Joey Pants goes, thank God no officers died. And you're watching the news footage in the background, and you're like, how? Like,
Yeah,
you see
yeah.
cop cars
I don't believe you.
fly into an
Sorry
explosion.
about the 99 pedestrians that
City
were
just
wiped
says,
out. Its
no
collateral.
cops, whew, you know.
Yeah.
But it's truly they just kind of is paying lip service to like, well, no
Yeah.
police officers died, and you're like, you're lying. I just watched like
they-
so
yeah,
many.
they
cars
But that's like a
blow up.
weird like defense mechanism of, don't worry, we're not killing cops. Like,
Yeah.
we're not that bad.
And it's
boy.
only Miami residents, so
They-
who cares, right?
Yeah.
They're drinking through a straw for the rest of their life.
But they're not dead. It's
Yeah.
not a happy life. But it's also that this film, from the moment you see the Haitian sort of gang members, is got a bit of a like Mad Maxy District 9 dystopian flavor to it, where people could argue that this is a film that is taking racial and sort of urban stereotypes too far. And I'm like, this isn't the real world. This is a heightened version of street crime where these people might as well be in a comic book. It's so excessive the way they operate. And I think that's brilliant.
I think that's brilliant, but I think you're putting that on the film. I don't think Michael Bay thought, this is a new whole universe.
You're probably right, because the thought I had as well is, what's the bad version of this? And it's Bright. Which is where it's like, what if goblins or orcs are black people? And I'm like, stop. Like, their first note, no. Don't do
Wait,
that.
who's in Bright?
It's Joel Edgerton
It's Will
and
Smith,
Will
isn't
Smith.
it? Yeah.
And I can't remember who plays the girl.
right.
I think she's an Australian. But yeah,
whatever.
Bright is
That
terrible.
movie sucked.
That's a very bad movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think that shit works. And then even Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, moving on from there, the gun sequences aren't that interesting. Like, it's probably the least interesting part. Frank, you mentioned the 360 when they go to the Haitian's house. That gets old real quick. Like,
You do see it a lot.
That's the only scene that I really enjoy in terms of action sequences. Like, the car chase is fine. The initial one, the body one later is.
I find that one pretty hard.
I hate it.
I
We'll
find
get to
that because that's when I went, oh my, like, what are we watching?
Yeah.
What world am I in? That's when it sort of, because that feels self-aware.
Yeah.
You're running over cadavers and their heads are spinning off.
Especially when you've already had cars as the like obstacle, and now it's like, how do we elevate?
How do we
this?
elevate- how
And
do we
it's
get
like,
up from there?
They went and talked to a group of 13-year-old boys
Yeah.
who are like, what if it's like dead naked fat guys?
I think-
and it's like, this is
If
not
you
funny.
put this film in a bottle, right, much like The Matrix as an example, like one of the most famous sequences in the original Matrix film, you could argue, there's a few actually, some good ones, but is the hotel lobby with Neo and Trinity.
Yeah.
the start of the end
The
fight.
start of the end fight scene, which is just iconic for so many reasons, right?
Yeah.
I think that this Haitian scene for me, for Bad Boys 2, is sort of like the pinnacle. I think that's like the peak sort of action sequence, although it's sort of boxed in, is very much like Michael Bay giving you everything he's got in one room is kind of how it feels. And I like it. You've got the quips, you've got the 360 camera, you've got the just over-the-top violence, nonsensical dialogue and just everything as well, but I kind of love it.
I think he's making the most of it. You're right. In a confined setting, by the time the camera does the third revolution, I'm like, I get it.
I could see that Michael Bay would have been giddy to film that one.
But it's like you could have done this twice. I also do agree with you. The aftermath is the best part of that scene to me, where Martin Lawrence is like, well, let's ask everyone else. And he just goes around everyone. He's like, he's all fucked up. Like, everyone's dead. And again, it's like Martin Lawrence constantly commenting on, like Mike Lowry, Will Smith. Like, you're not as cool or as good at this as you think you are.
Yeah.
Just because you kill people well doesn't make you a good cop, right?
Yeah.
The movie is getting
That
its
makes
hits
you
in.
a killer.
That makes you a killer, right?
Yeah.
But my favorite non-action sequence in the film is them going to plant the wire at Johnny Tappy's
the
mentioned.
rats.
I love that whole sequence. I think it's so
one of my least
funny
favorite.
because
Not
it's
funny.
It's taking an idea and a sort of like purient adolescent humor from the first movie that runs through the whole thing. And in this one, it's like, what's the most extreme version of that we can do for 10 seconds? And it's like rats fucking face to face. I think that's funny. And Martin Lawrence is just like,
Do it like us,
they do it like we do. It makes me laugh. But then
Turned me off. I was like, no, come on.
the scene in
Just, I want. If that's a 13-year-old, I want you to be 15. I just want you to like
Just a little
Just
higher.
don't do
That's
that joke.
out of all of it. That's
Be
the
him
only
being
joke I didn't like.
like Martin Lawrence being grossed out by rats, and be like, oh yuck, big rats.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that's kind of funny, simple, but
To me, the 13-year-old shows the rat cum shot. So I think the 15-year-old says, no, that's too much. So I think there was a 15-year-old in the room to be like, come on, guys, let's
then
not.
I want the 17-year-old. Whatever you're saying, I don't want
The
it.
17-year-old's like, they should be face-to-face, so it's romantic.
Tom, you're the problem here.
I think so. I came in defending Bad Boys 2. I am part of the problem. But then...
But I see your point, Tom. I see how fun it is, but I don't think it's meant to be that fun. I think it's meant to be. They're trying to be a little bit more hardcore.
I think the hardcore sequence is Peter Stormare and Johnny Tapia face to face in that like dimly lit, almost like
Dining room?
chiaroscuro thing where he's just like, I've closed all the curtains. This is the most depressing room you've ever been in.
Yeah.
And he brings his partner in, chopped up in a barrel. And I know that's a moment where you go like, ugh. But my favorite thing about it is how it's shot like a horror film. And then Peter Stormare's like, I see this every day in Russia. I don't give a fuck. Like, he just completely dismisses. And Johnny Tapia for a second's like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry if you're used to this.
Yeah.
This is
That
this
was
is-
meant to fuck
This
with
is
you.
meant to be the height of disgust and horror.
Tapia's like budget Scarface. Like I don't
He's
really
not
buy into
good.
him.
Tapia
He's not
is
great.
Spanish John Hamm. Let's like be real.
I get that.
There's
He's
a couple
beautiful.
of shots of
He's
him
handsome.
where he's
His
Cuban.
eyes are stunning.
He's got a great look to him, and he's really good in Blow. He's Johnny Depp's best friend who betrays him. It's Geordie
Malia?
Geordie Malia.
Yep.
He's really interesting looking.
Yeah, I agree.
He's not much of a character.
And here's the thing: it's like you got to blame the writing because none of them are really characters.
No.
Will Smith and Martin Lawrence are playing themselves, and then everyone else is just stereotypes.
You've got to blame the casting. Who casts this dude as Johnny Tapia and then puts Peter Stormare in the movie for 10 minutes? Fucking swap. Peter
I
Stormare
agree.
is your villain. What an insane casting
agree.
decision that
I
is.
agree.
Peter Stormare looks like Michael Bay wishes he looked. You know what I mean?
It's
Okay.
his death is one of the
Yeah.
best things in the movie as well.
Worst things in the movie.
I agree that it's stupid, but it's funny to me that it's the character that you're like, oh, I've seen this a million times. He's the guy who's going to join the cops, and he's actually going to have an outcome, and he does nothing, and he
Yeah.
just gets shot.
You don't want.
and he's gone.
I found that really disappointing because you like him, right? You think, he's hard. He's going to do something great, or at least kill 5 of them.
Yeah.
he does nothing. It's disappointing.
I also see how I literally am contradicting myself because with The Fifth Element, one of my least favorite things is Gary Oldman and Bruce Willis don't meet.
Yeah.
And if Martin Lawrence and Will Smith have a scene with Peter Stormare, this is a better movie. So I do think that's a wasted opportunity.
Sure.
Definitely.
So are you saying that? I'm just throwing this into the wind. Because I like that scene as well with Stormare and Tapia.
I think that scene's so good.
Yeah,
It's
It's-
great.
it
But
also-
again, it's a different film almost because
it
like,
has
what are we doing?
stakes. It feels
It
tense.
does.
Yeah.
So would the film work then if you kept the lighter tone or the comedic tone with Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, and then you had the heavier scenes outside of them?
Exactly right. That's a fucking great way of putting it because
Okay.
they keep cutting to rats fucking. And then they cut to this intense, horror angled film with real violence in it. And then they cut to Will Smith.
that's interesting.
Finding the kitchen covered in blood, and he's like, "Oh, I know what it is. You guys
You've
are
got
nasty."
this. You've got these two through lines: the comedy through line and the dramatic tone.
Exactly.
Coming
Never
side
the
by
twain
side.
shall meet.
Whereas you've got Will Smith and Martin Lawrence sort of jumping in between.
Exactly.
Both.
They're fucking around like Rosencrantz, Guildenstern, just having their own adventures in this actual dark world.
Yeah.
The problem is when they do try to make them meet, and they're in the morgue, and it's like, haha, get it? Dead bodies, dead naked girl. Isn't this fucked up? And I'm like, yeah, this is unpleasant.
But the scene could have worked without the dead naked girl.
I mean, that's the
absolutely.
most unnecessary.
All right,
sequence
take that out
scene
and it's
in the
better.
movie. I think
That's
it's
immediately.
better-ish, but I'm just kind of like, there's times in movies where you're like, I can't believe they're going there, and times where you're like, I can't wait for this to end. And once
That's
Will
sure.
Smith starts sticking his hand inside dead people, I'm like, please, can we move on?
But
He did this in
that's
Men in
gross.
Black too.
Yeah, he loves getting
Does
in
he?
cadavers.
When
Yeah.
does he do that in Men in Black? I can't remember.
When
When he
he's
goes
in
to the morgue and sticks his hand inside the body,
God, I haven't
and
seen
the
that
alien
movie
in the
a
head.
long
and he's like, "There's
time.
nothing inside it."
And the
Oh,
cat.
Oh,
And,
yes,
oh, God.
that's right. I just remembered. You're right.
Okay,
I haven't
yep.
seen that movie in ages.
is that Men in Black 2?
No, that is the first one. And it's like Orion's
I'm Dr.
belt.
White.
Orion's belt.
And he has to put the glove on and put the hand in the cadaver. And she's like, are you a real doctor? That whole scene.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
been ages since I've seen that
Okay,
movie.
great
It's a good
movie.
movie.
If we take out the dead woman with her breasts, it's already a gross enough scene.
Sure.
And then I also don't like the fact that Martin Lawrence has ecstasy accidentally.
It's farcical.
It's just too
think
far.
it's gonna be
And then we go
better.
to the captain's house at the middle of the night to do this as well.
yeah, yeah. He knows he's on ecstasy. Why would you go to the captain's house? Just leave him in the car.
Well, I think they're
Yeah.
like, it's once they get to the door is meant to be the thing where he's like, have you taken something? And they're already there. But I agree. I'm like, in a movie that's doing a better job of managing its comedy than the first movie, I'm like, oh, Martin Lawrence is going to take ecstasy. That'll probably be funny. It's not funny. It's like, it has almost no comedic. It's just dead on arrival. The
This
second
is a good fish. It's
and-
got big eyes,
and
but it's a
that's-
good fish.
My thing is like not to be this guy, but maybe consult one person who's ever taken drugs. Like it's just to me, I'm just like Martin Lawrence has no idea what
Yeah,
ecstasy is
no,
like.
these,
Like,
these
clearly-
Hollywood actors have definitely never taken drugs.
I mean,
You're right.
probably
Martin
have-
Lawrence to me, I'm like that's a man who doesn't know what MD is. Like he's just like it just makes you kind of like.
It's
Makes
loopy,
you
right?
goofy, right?
You're silly, right?
The one part of it that made me chuckle was him sitting next to the statue and going, take the picture. When he's got his nipples out. I'm like, that's pretty funny.
That's good.
The rest of it's really stupid.
Yeah, I agree.
I think the second half of the movie loses me. It's like a really, really solid, surprisingly compelling action and comedic film.
Yeah.
And basically, the moment they start running over dead bodies in the car chase, I'm like, oh, I think I'm kind of out. And I very occasionally found my way back in.
I remember when this hit cinemas and people, and I was working at the cinema at the time, and people would come out and it's the only scene people would talk about. It's like, what'd you think? How'd you go? And they're like, dude, there's cadavers coming out of trucks.
Yeah, I guess it was. It was
Like
really.
that was
It's
the most
shocking.
confronting scene in that whole film for anyone else, was having bodies flying out on the street for some reason. That didn't hit me the same way, but that, like, generally I think that's how audiences at the time perceived the film. They're just like, this is what just happened.
Yeah.
It's just so
You-
unpleasant.
insane.
You forget that it's R-rated.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, it's true.
There's a reason
I
they
do.
can get away with all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's R.
Can we do MVP?
Can I ask one more question?
No,
before
you
we
cut
do
me
MVP?
off
One more,
last time.
One more.
You suck.
Is the scene where they confront Darius, the kid coming to pick up his daughter, is that scene funny?
No.
Oh,
Absolutely
no, we
not.
haven't talked about this, have we?
We have to talk about that. Scene.
No, this is actually the worst scene in the film.
I think that scene's funny.
No, I used to love it. Like, I used to
Yeah.
love it, thinking it was funny as hell.
hate
and-
myself.
Tom, you're like 6 years old.
hate
Yeah.
myself, but the way they commit and go back and forth with that, and the thing I never picked up on when I was younger is how far Will Smith is like he's lisping, and he's just like, I'm adopting all these traits of what I think
Yeah.
of as a criminal black man.
Yeah.
He's swinging from the bottle. And the line that gets me so hard is,
the last
you're,
one.
you're at least 30. And then Will Smith comes on, he's like, you're at least 30. Like, just that they double down
Yeah,
on
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I think the last line is so upsetting.
The last line, cut it.
What makes the scene funny to me?
For the listener, it's have you ever had sex with a man? Do you want
Do you want to? You a virgin, keep it that way. Have you ever had sex with a man? Do you want to? And then the next scene, hard cut, is Will Smith and Martin Lawrence just being like, man, we fucked that kid up, huh? We really traumatized that
So
kid.
this is
Yeah.
the thing.
And that makes me laugh.
How jarring is this sequence, right?
It's
Because
insane.
Haven't they just had a fight?
they've just had
They
a fight.
hate each other.
Then there's a sentimental moment of looking at a yearbook,
Yeah.
right?
Will Smith
Bad
has
Boys
braces.
for life. Yeah,
Hilarious.
stupid. And then it's like it's a smash cut. Like it's such a weird, jarring edit where it cuts to Martin Lawrence coming downstairs now. Oh yeah, here's a bit. My daughter's got a guy picking her up.
Yeah.
Then Will Smith all of a sudden at the door, just ready to go in character, like he knows what's going down.
I mean, you feel like, but they couldn't have done this before, but Martin Lawrence doesn't have any other teenage girls, right? So this is the first time
You would
they've
assume so.
done this?
But if you're willing to be generous about it and read it within the arc of their
I'm not.
characterization, which you certainly don't have to because it's an unpleasant scene, it's them bonding
Yeah.
over their ability to go back and forth with each other
I
and
understand.
have that repartee. And then in the next scene, they're like, "Oh, we still are boys." Like
it's
look what we
it's
do.
a fourth wall moment because like look at these two actors who are just riffing, right? You imagine that's not very tightly scripted. They're just having a razz. I like that in the performance of it, but I don't like what the scene is actually doing.
It shouldn't be immediately following a fight.
And immediately it becomes
Having that banter
Yeah,
and
that's
rapport.
their
them.
makeup.
And
It just
that-
doesn't work.
It doesn't logically make sense that they
Because
would bond over it. I
Also,
agree.
Will Smith, Mike goes too far. And Marcus is like, "Hey, stop it, Mike." And you're like, "Is he?" Because they've just had a fight.
It's good cop, bad
so Is
cop,
he
right?
mad?
That's
is it
what
though?
they're-
But
No,
but
it's
Martin
bad
Lawrence-
cop, bad cop.
Yeah,
I
bad
mean,
boys, bad boys.
cop, worse cop. Yes, but is how
He's a
they're-
cop waving a gun in a 15-year-old
Martin-
face.
Yeah,
There's no version of good cop
It's
here.
None of them-
ludicrous at it. I cannot lie. I would come in here and tell you the truth. And that scene, I just kept being like, I can't believe I find this funny. I can't believe
Okay.
this works. And I think part of it is how far they're both running away from their established persona. Because in Bad Boys 1, it still is a little bit like it's the Fresh Prince. And did you
Yeah.
guys ever watch Martin Lawrence's sitcom, Martin? I never watched
No.
it, but that's
No.
what he was.
No.
That's what he was big from.
I don't.
And
I
so they were
don't
both sitcom
jump to
stars.
Martin Lawrence.
hasn't he done like what's he done at this point?
Well, he was in by Bad Boys 2, he'd done some other stuff.
He
but
did The
by
Black
Bad
Knight.
Boys 1, The Black Knight, which we've talked about. and
classic.
Probably Big
That-
Mama's house, right?
that era of movies. They're like, well, we got Martin
Big
Lawrence,
Mama's
and he
House.
goes
Oh.
back in time.
As we said,
Yeah.
they just roll dice.
Big Mama's
but,
House is terrible.
But his first movie is Do the Right Thing, the Spike Lee joint from '89. And it's Martin Lawrence doing kind of Will Smith in Threatening Darius. It's Martin Lawrence with a lisp on the street, just like being really over the top and silly.
Wow.
But he's very funny. And yeah, he's known as a sitcom star. Will Smith's a sitcom star. They're guys that everyone had invited into their house for so long and gotten to know, and it was breaking down racial barriers. And for them in this scene to be like, we are going to be hardened, aggressive black men. I don't know. It makes me laugh.
But they're
it
not hard.
shouldn't.
They're
It
not
sh-
hardened, and it doesn't feel scary.
It would
feels
only work on a
illegitimate.
15-year-old, though. If they were trying to do that to a grown man,
Yeah.
they'd just be like, come on,
But
really?
who are we, the audience? Are we 15-year-olds? Yes.
I
Yes.
mean, when we're watching
I-
this, I think we have
Tom,
to be.
I started this conversation by saying that when I was a teen, I loved this and found it hilarious. And now that I'm older and I've matured, I don't. And all of a sudden, you're like, this shit's the funniest thing
Yeah,
ever.
I've gone the other way.
yeah.
I have regressed, and I somehow find this.
This is
movie-
that's also telling of you two as teenagers, because Tom, weren't you very pretentious and a total douchebag?
No, I was really cool. Oh shit! I'm actually
wait,
just
yeah.
wait a minute.
But you were like,
No, I was cool and everyone loved me.
you liked intellectual shit, so you would watch this and be like, it's a bit below me.
Yeah, it's a bit baloney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Bologna.
No, I think he said it's a bit blow me.
Yeah, it's a bit. I'm
It's
doing
just-
a bit.
Yeah.
Would you blow me?
Hey, I want to watch the movie Blow. Could you blow me? And someone throws me the DVD.
DVD.
Hey,
They've
I've
blown us all away. Sorry, go on.
I've got a really good idea. Let's do MVP.
Well,
That's
actually-
a great idea.
No, let's do it. Let's do it. Talk about regression.
Who's our MVPs?
It's joint for me between
Martin Lawrence and Will Smith?
no,
How dare you?
Stormare and Shannon.
Michael Shannon.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Please talk about him.
If you're going to cast Michael Shannon as a KKK swamp monster, as Tom put it, perfect.
Yeah, good casting.
Like,
Yeah.
just incredible. He doesn't get enough to do in the film. It's funny as hell that he's locked in the boot and they forgot about him. Like,
That's a good moment when
Yeah.
he starts banging. Like,
Yeah.
who's in here?
just the
Captain is
abuse,
mad.
the through line of abuse on this KKK member.
But it's fine, right? Because he's KKK.
yeah, that's it.
It's like, yeah, you deserve it, you piece of crap.
You might as well have Hitler in the boot
Yes.
at this point. It's amazing.
I have my rights. Screaming.
I adore Michael Shannon, regardless.
He's a very good
and I
actor.
have the same feeling about Stormare, and much to say, Tom has the same feeling. When Stormare's on screen, I'm like, I don't care what he's doing at this point. I just enjoy him.
So I don't have that for Stormare.
Really?
Nah. I'm more like, meh.
He's one of those. I don't. Would you call him a B actor?
Yes. Maybe C.
I think he's
He's
like,
always on the B
not
list.
I
famous.
think he's like an A grade European villain actor. Like
Yeah,
if you
sure.
want a guy with just a sort of vaguely Eastern European look and accent,
Yeah.
and he's going to
Yeah.
be menacing.
Yeah.
I mean, he's so good in Fargo. Like his whole thing in Fargo is he says like 10 lines, and every time he speaks, you're just like, Steve Buscemi, you got to shut up, man. That guy's going to fucking feed you to a wood
There's-
chip. He's in a lot of weird things, and it is
Right.
just kind of like,
Might
yeah,
be-
you need to be menacing, and you need to be from Slovenia, Czechoslovakia,
Yeah.
Serbia, wherever.
I don't know if
Wherever
you're
the
gonna help me
Americans
or
think
kill
is
me.
over there.
Exactly,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
not Russia. That'll upset them. So it's gotta be something a little vaguer.
Yeah.
I love Peter Stormare in Prison Break, a show I don't think's great, but I remember even
Yeah.
as a kid
He
thinking,
tattooed the map on his body.
No,
Can you believe it?
Tom. So
How do you
Frank,
get out of this prison?
Frank's
I'll
never
show you.
seen. He's never seen Prison Break. I could tell.
That's what happens. I'm
Peter
pretty
Stormare is
sure.
so good. Frank Abruzzi, isn't that his
I think
character's
so,
name?
yeah.
He gets his throat
Abruzzi.
slit and survives.
Yeah, he's
like
a
he's
beast.
a wild character in that show.
They're my MVPs. Those two. I think they hold the film together. I think like honorable. I can't say the word honorable every time I go
Honourable.
to say it.
That's okay.
Mention
Honourable.
to Joe P.
Joey P is great.
I think he's excellent.
Michael Bay.
I was going to say Michael Bay.
This movie looks incredible.
Bay.
Yeah,
This
he-
movie doesn't hold still, even when it's not great in the back half. It's still most of the time is captivating. to
Looks
look at.
fantastic.
It's
Yeah.
so good looking. I
How does
can't
it make the
believe
sand fly up when the body falls in there? It's good.
Gravity.
Upside down gravity?
Yeah, they drop it and then they show it in reverse. It's defying gravity.
Nice.
Good reference. All right. So, is anyone going to throw anything in?
Wait, sorry, Frank. Who was yours?
Michael Bay.
Oh, Michael
as
Bay
well.
as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Easy
Great.
peasy.
I think
Fair.
I have to go like a 6.2.
Wait, you're throwing it in?
I think I'm going down because
Wait.
you guys are right. This movie's awful, but I had a good time. So I spent more time talking about like, yeah, there's a lot of bad shit in this movie, but it was fun. It was fun for me to watch. I can't believe I liked it more than you guys.
Yeah, I can't believe you did either. Marcus, you throwing anything?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just sad that this was a bad watch for me. It just sort of ruined it for me a little bit.
That's okay.
4.2.
What were you on? 4.8.
4.8.
So you've gone.
Yeah.
You've talked yourself down. And I'm gonna go. I'm gonna stay where I was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were you, Frank?
5. I'm a 5.
You're a 5?
So I almost liked it.
Frank's a 5 out of 10. You heard it here first.
Look at my face. 5 out of 10. Thanks.
Strong 5. You're a strong 5.
Thank you.
Five.
Yeah, I've been working on my strength.
Really?
I'm actually doing.
Hey.
I'm bulking right now.
Hey, give me a high five.
Keep an eye out on our next episode coming up, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
The
What is
big
it?
100.
Here it comes. 100. Thanks for listening to Throw in the Power. My name is Frank.
My name is Marcus.
My name's Tom.
And that was our 99th episode.
It was.
And coming up soon is our 100th.
the
Can you
big
believe
100th.
it?
Do we tell them what we're doing or do we just surprise them?
We surprise it. You get ready. It's
Okay.
going to be...
It's Jurassic Park 3 again, bitches!
No one's happy about it.
The golden 100.
Thanks for listening. Send us an Instagram. We love you.
We do.
Bye.
Throw in the